As we mentioned, the U.S. has officially backed out of a long-standing arms control treaty with Russia. You heard it in our conversation that Christy and I were just having. It stokes fears that even a world war could somehow be on the horizon. The Trump administration says that Russia is to blame for the breakdown in the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, or INF, which saw the two countries stay clear of nuclear conflict. Russia's responded by stating that the U.S. government has hidden its nefarious plans, which called on them to pull out of the treaty. Regardless of who's at fault, the issue raises serious concerns. We got two parts to this story. First, I want to introduce you to the Russian Deputy Foreign Minister. His name is Sergei Ryabkov, who spoke to RT earlier today. Listen to what he has to say.
On the famous symbolic clock that shows the time left to the nuclear conflict, we have unfortunately passed yet another minute towards the midnight. We should work deliberately, focusedly. We should invest additional energy and political capital to stop this dangerous development. Everything now depends on responsibility of the U.S. decision makers.
Just hours after this statement was made, the Pentagon announced that it will develop new ground missiles which had been banned under the INF. RT correspondent Yulia Shapovalova has been all over this story. She files this report from Moscow.
The treaty on the control of intermediate and shorter-range missiles has been terminated at the initiative of the American side. The official statement appeared on the Russian Foreign Ministry's website. The withdrawal from the agreement was also confirmed by U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. On Twitter, he again placed blame on Russia for that.
On February the 2nd, 2019, the US gave Russia 6 months to return to compliance with the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. Russia refused, so the treaty ends today. The US will not remain party to a treaty when others violate it. Russia bears sole responsibility.
This document was signed more than 30 years ago on December 8, 1987 by Mikhail Gorbachev and Ronald Reagan. Thanks to the agreement between the Soviet Union and the United States, a whole class of the most dangerous nuclear weapons was destroyed, missiles with a flight range of 500 to 5,500 kilometers. Washington announced the suspension of participation in the treaty in February, accusing Russia of non-compliance. The United States and NATO believe that one of Moscow's missiles violated the agreement. They say Russia developed and put into service a 9M729 rocket, which, as it seems to the Americans, flies further than 500 kilometers. Moscow denied it went against the treaty. The Russian Ministry of Defense has repeatedly explained in detail and even showed that missile, saying it fully fits into the framework of the agreement. But the United States refused to accept all the evidence and did not enter into dialogue. Meanwhile, Russia puts forward counterclaims, saying the United States uses long-range strike drones and NATO now deploys launchers capable of delivering Tomahawk missiles in Romania and Poland. They have a range of more than 1,000 kilometers and fall under medium-range missiles prohibited by the treaty. Earlier, Donald Trump noted that the United States wants to come to an agreement on control of nuclear weapons. He also discussed this issue by telephone with Vladimir Putin. The UN has also expressed concern.
The Intermediate Nuclear Forces Treaty, the INF, is a landmark agreement that helps stabilize Europe and end the Cold War. When it expires tomorrow, the world will lose an invaluable break on nuclear war, and this will likely heighten, not reduce, the threat posed by ballistic missiles.
China has also warned about the dangers of withdrawal from the treaty.
The real intention of the U.S. withdrawal is to make the treaty no longer binding on itself. Bringing China into this is just an unreasonable move. China will not accept it.
Moscow offers the United States and NATO to declare a moratorium on the deployment of intermediate and shorter-range missiles, according to Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov. A similar step has already been taken by the Russian side. Moscow will refrain from deploying such weapons until the United States installs appropriate systems.
Russia showed utmost responsibility for European and global security, declaring through President Putin's statement a unilateral moratorium for fielding of this type of capabilities if and when Russia develops, though until and unless the U.S. does the same anywhere in the world.
Now, according to CNN, the Pentagon plans to test a new cruise missile in the coming weeks in response to, according to the authors of the article, Russia's aggression in Europe. The only and key guarantee of global stability now remains the Third Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, known as START III. This agreement was signed by Russia and the United States in 2010, but in 2 years, in 2021, the document ends and the United States says it has no intention to extend it.
For example, the New START nuclear agreement, which was ratified in 2010, was flawed from the beginning. It did not cover short-range tactical nuclear weapons or new Russian delivery systems. It is due to expire in February of 2021, and while no decision has been made, it's unlikely to be extended. Why extend a flawed system just to say you have a treaty?
For now, it seems the sides should really sit down and think how to make the world more secure. Yulia Shapovalova for the news of Rick Sanchez.
So you haven't heard that we're the ones covering the stories that you won't see covered anywhere else? In Venezuela, Kazakhstan. Let's go to Hong Kong. And the media reaction to that has been crickets. How about the way we cover those stories? What the hell does that mean? Huawei, Huawei, Huawei. That's the key word in this case, uprising. Keep? Can you believe that? Watching. This is the right thing for members of the media to do, to actually pick sides. Look, if you like what you see, subscribe.